Hello and welcome to the G Woman Voices of Influence series. And this is where, as you know, we spotlight women whose voice, whose work, and whose impact are shaping the future. I'm your host, Clara Rufai. Guess what? My guest today is a woman who embodies both depth and diversity, moving seamlessly between law, care, creativity, and empowerment, and using her voice to help women reconnect with who they truly are. So, the woman of influence we are celebrating today is none other than Nadine Silas-Richards. So let me tell you a little bit about Nadine, right? Nadine Silas-Richards is an author. She's a podcaster, a paralegal, and creative entrepreneur whose work is rooted in compassion, in clarity, and in empowerment. And she currently basically works as a paralegal within Boys Turner's Court of Protection team, where she supports vulnerable clients and their families with care, with precision, and deep empathy. Now, with a rich background spanning some 28 years within the NHS, including leading development of regional urgent care service for child and adolescent mental health, Nadine brings both operational excellence and human understanding to her work. But alongside this, she is the founder of Lunar, Orchid, Bespoke Stationers, and wedding and special event planners. This is where she creates meaningful and memorable experiences that celebrate life's most important moments. Nadine is also the host of the Essence of Me podcast. She's the author of Essence of Me book of affirmations, through which she inspires women to reconnect with their identity, their voice, and their purpose. Affectionately known as the Queen Whisperer, Nadine is dedicated to helping women recognize their inner strength and step into who they were always meant to be. Nadine, I'm super excited to have you on Voices of Influence today. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Clara. I am absolutely privileged and honored to be here. And thank you very much for making me a part of the conversation. It's
Amazing. I'm
really lovely to
excited
be
to
here.
have you
Really
here.
lovely to
So
be here.
let's straight away dive into your origin story. Your origin moment is where we always like to begin. And so, Nadine, I'd like to ask you, what stands out for you about what stand out for me really about your journey is how multi-layered it is. There is law, there is healthcare, there is creativity, and then now there is this work you do of empowering women. And I want to ask you, how have all these different parts of your life come together to shape who you are today? And on top of that, please tell us, at what point did you realize that your voice, your perspective is something that women needed to hear?
All right. Thanks, Clara. Um, for as long as I've known me, at the heart of who I am and everything I do is connected by a common thread, and that is compassion and just a desire to see everyone win. For me, it's never about me winning and you losing. We can all win. The world is big enough. The rooms are big enough. And that really grounds who I am. It's just at the essence, at the core of who I am. That was inspired by my upbringing with my grandmother. Um, she just had this amazing gift for giving and just pulling everybody in. There was always enough. She said, it doesn't matter how much we have or how little we have, there is always enough. Although I grew up in an environment where kids were seen and not heard, there's something that Granny used to say that fundamentally just brought me through life. She says,
Mhm.
as long as you have a functioning tongue, utilize it. Even when
True. As long as you have
you
a
have a
functioning
functioning
tongue,
tongue,
utilize it. I'm going to
utilize.
stop you right there, Nadine, because I think that I'll pull that story out in a bit. And this is because I want us to talk about for every great woman, every voice of influence, there's usually an influencer behind the influencer,
Definitely
right? So
influencer.
I want to ask you, having worked in deeply human spaces, from mental health services to supporting vulnerable clients now in your legal work, I want to ask you who or what is it that has shaped your compassion, your ability to really see people, and how has that influenced the way that you now show up for women as the Queen Whisperer?
again, it goes back to my grandmother. It goes back
Grandma
to my
again.
grandmother. That golden nugget. It goes. It's in her. It's in my mum. I see it in me, and it's about meeting people where they are.
Hmm.
And I always believe I was raised to see what you see in others. It's a reflection of yourself. And if you're seeing good, and if you're seeing that's a reflection of who you are. When you look at a person and you don't see anything positive, again, it's a reflection because what they're mirroring back to you,
Yeah.
they're showing you this is who you are. And
And that is so true, isn't it? That is
yeah,
so telling. If you're not seeing good around you, in the people around you, it can only mean that you're not
something.
projecting good.
Yeah,
You're not giving good out into
yeah,
the world. I totally
absolutely,
believe that. And
absolutely.
your grandmother is a wise woman, but we'll come to more of that in a bit. I want to, so Dr. Lisa Fennell says, love that. Compassion is at the core of everything you do. Isn't that the truth?
It's
And so
true. I
I do
think
want,
just for a
yeah.
second, I just think even where I've worked with teams and led people and managed teams, you have to have compassion because everybody comes with a story, everybody has an issue, and
Mhm.
sometimes you've got to park the judgment at the side and just think, what can I do for Clara today? How can I help
Yeah.
Clara today? What
Yeah.
compassion does Clara need? What empathy does she need? Once you lead from that, you can always go back and fix anything that needs to fix. And I always say, if I'm going to, if I have to guide or direct someone, I always think about, let me give them a positive first.
Mhm.
And this is how I operate. Tell me something I do good, and then when
Mhm.
you come to give me the negative feedback or the
You're open to
constructive criticism,
receiving
I am
it.
open to receiving it.
Hmm. And
But
do
if
you know
all you're
what? I can
telling
tell you
me,
that the people around you experience you this way. I mean, the Good Radio Network says Nadine is the most compassionate woman I know. And I can perhaps say the same thing as well. And what next says, very powerful message. Everyone winning. And that's exactly how the world should be structured. And that's exactly how it should work. So let me ask you this. What do you think? Or rather, why do you think that so many women struggle to recognize their own worth? Because everyone has intrinsic worth and value, right? But some of us struggle with it. Why do you think we struggle with it, even when we're doing so much and we're achieving so much? Why do we tend to struggle?
I believe, Clara, that sometimes we struggle because not because we feel stuck. And I don't think we feel stuck because we're broken. I think we feel stuck because we've been faithful to perhaps the wrong agreement. We have the agreement with the work, with the boss, with the family, with the children, and everybody else. But what's the agreement we have with ourselves?
Hmm.
I'm going to ask again. What's the agreement we have with ourselves? And I always approach it from if I go out there today and I can make one person happy,
Hmm.
my job's done.
So, how do you think that women can begin to reconnect with that version of themselves, the one that you're describing?
Yeah, honestly, wake up. I believe we have to wake up, activate our internal urgency, and become curious about self. Because for me, the more curious you are about you, the more you're inclined to explore your capabilities and possibilities. Push the boundaries, try
Yeah.
things you never tried.
Hmm.
Let's say it's nothing to fear but fear itself. And you and I have spoken about this so many times.
Hmm.
But if we stop being fearful and go back to, I want to grow, I want to learn, I want to prosper. And we have to remember growth, prosperity, they're not going to look the same for me as they do to you for you, which is
Hmm.
why I say we should not get stuck in those agreements.
Hmm.
In
Hmm.
fact, we have
Hmm.
this agreement with the world that we need to be all things to all people, and that's all good and well. But at what point do we stop and say, well, that's fine, but what am I being for myself? What am I being for myself? And I think what women tend to do is we go through life being selfless. We're fixing everybody, we're doing everybody, and that's okay. And I think you and I spoke about this recently. We get to a point where we have to just stop, get off the treadmill, get off the train, and say, now it's my time to be self full. because I can't pour from an empty cup. I
So it
have
all begins with self.
to all
First of
begin
all, reconnect with
reconnect
yourself because you cannot pour from
from
an
an
empty
empty
cup.
cup. Another
You
one of
have to
Raddy's
make sure
words.
you are self
Um,
full,
full
you
self
know,
full.
not selfless,
Yeah.
self
And
full.
I don't know if you've
Wow.
ever heard people say, "Oh, I don't like that person. They're too full of themselves." And as a young
Mm,
person growing up, you think, "Yeah, we all say that." But as you mature, well, after me, I just start to think, if somebody can't be full of themselves, well, who can they be full of?
mhm,
And if you're
mhm.
not full of yourself, then who are you giving me? Because I want Clara.
Absolutely.
I
Some
don't want
counterfeit,
Clara.
probably.
Exactly. I don't want
Absolutely.
Clara pitching up full of
Mhm.
somebody else.
Yeah.
Give me Clara,
Yeah.
you
You
know?
know,
And
listening to you speak, Nadine, I'm looking at those three words in a different, totally different light.
totally different.
Self-full,
Full.
selfish,
Yes.
selfless.
Selfless.
Dr. Lisa again says, self-full is such an empowering approach. I absolutely agree. Dr. Lisa also says positive feedback is critical to keep people open to critique.
Yeah.
Mm,
And I think also, Clara, going back to your earlier question about, how women can meet themselves or come to themselves. For
mhm,
me, when I started to go into the self-full journey,
mhm,
as fate would have it, I have this saying that divine timing. I honestly live by the word divine timing. It started to open up doors
mhm.
that
That's true.
never even
That's
entered
true.
my head before.
That
Because
is so
you're now
true.
showing up full of self. And I always say also, when kindred spirits connect, amazing things happen.
Mm,
Because, I remember when I first met you, we came into the space where loads of women just so full of ourselves, just so, and there
mm,
was just this buzz, this
mm.
vibe, this grace in the
And
room. We
that
all had a different
Nadine,
story.
I think you've always said this to me that is what brings out the queenness,
The queenness,
basically,
the
in
queenness
every woman. Basically, when you know who you are, you're
of who
accepting
you
of who
are.
you are. And Alex was just saying that she's had that kind of conversation with herself only recently. She said she had this recent conversation with herself. You know, she says, "Thank you, Nadine." And I want to move us to the next thing that I do want to ask you, and this is around impact and transformation,
Mhm.
because through your podcast, through your book, and through your work, you constantly are helping women to reconnect with
Mhm.
themselves, right? And so let me ask you, perhaps you can explain to us, in your words, what actually shifts for a woman, right, when she begins to understand who she truly is? How does that impact the way that she lives, she leads, and relates to other people around her?
Sure. First of all, Clara, we wake up, and I said this
Wake
earlier. We
up.
wake up and we activate. I have this.
Mm,
I have like a four-letter thing that comes into my head, and it's called WAS. We wake up, we activate, we come into our own self. We stop trying to prove ourselves, and we
mm,
position ourselves.
that's true.
Comes back to our first meeting. You start
Mm,
network, you align
mm,
yourself with people who align with you, and then you stop trying to audition people and you just become the author of you.
yes.
You know,
Yes.
who am I becoming? How can I author this? And we have to accept that not everybody's going to like it, not everybody's
Hmm.
going to agree with it, not everybody's
Hmm.
going to be happy. But you know what? That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
I always say, I'm not here to be liked. I'm not here to make friends. You
Here's
have to
here's what I'm taking away from what you just said now. Stop auditioning others and show up as
be
the
the
main
author
character
of
in
you
your play.
in your play. Be the
It's a
author
good
of you.
one.
Be the
That
author
is
of
such a
you.
strategic way to live and a powerful way to live
Yeah.
as well.
Because
So
I also
let
believe, Clara, that when
mm,
when people, because everyone says, "Oh, we want authenticity. We want you to be real." But when I show up as my real me, you don't like me because I'm no longer in that agreement, conforming to the version of me you wanted.
mhm,
And
mhm,
I always believe,
mhm,
sometimes we can have people, and I want ladies out there listening to hear this really clearly. Sometimes we can have people in our circle, but they're not
mhm.
necessarily in our corner.
All right.
They can be in your circle, but they're not in your corner. For me, when you're in my corner, yes, you'll point out my flaws, my faults, and my foibles, but you'll also say, she's good at this. I like her. She's really good at that. These are your strengths. You're giving me the whole picture of me.
Mm,
So when you say to me, oh, sis, I think you need to pull back on that, and I think you need to
mm,
think about doing it this way, it's it's so much easier for us to say,
mm,
actually, yeah, you make sense. I hear you,
mm, mm,
because you're giving
mm,
me the whole picture. And I
mm,
think I've been really fortunate, or maybe it's just divine intervention, I don't know, that out of, I think, the 10 bosses I've ever had, 8 of
mhm.
them women. And I go back to an alignment. I was
And you had good working
good
relationships
with
with
those
them.
women, very
So
good working
somehow I figure you would, Nadine. But also you do work in your work. You work. You're big on affirmations,
Oh,
um, and
absolutely.
your work goes beyond surface level positivity. Because in a world where there is so much, motivational speaking, that sometimes can come up sounding hollow. You
Mm.
go beyond, you go below, beneath the surface. So, what is the deeper role affirmation? What is the role that affirmations play in helping women rebuild their identity and their confidence? If you could tell us that very quickly.
It's that secret voice. It's the secret voice you hear when nobody else is talking because you read it, you rehearse it, you live it, you think about how is this hitting? What is it? What is it telling me? Uh,
Mm,
and that's what you do, and that informs how you move forward and what you do.
mm-hmm,
You know, you're in a capsule where everybody's saying similar thing or feeling they have to say something
mm-hmm,
similar.
mm-hmm.
Um, but with the affirmation, you're it's like you're I hear it and I affirm it for myself, to
Yeah,
myself.
yeah.
Now I now have to go away and process, how can I utilize this? It may
Mm-hmm,
not be the way Clara would or Alex or
mm-hmm.
anybody else, but it has to work for me. But on top of that, it's got to maintain the essence of who I am.
And that's why you wrote your
That's
book of
where it all connects.
affirmations. And it's such a powerful little book as well. It just hits the right notes. And Riri says, I love this
Yeah.
conversation.
It's a little book, but the
Yeah,
word's
yeah.
big.
A
Words
little
are
book, but very
big.
big, very big book. And what next again says, Nadine, you are very inspirational. You're great to listen to. Keep those comments coming, ladies. This is so exciting to
Thank
know that
you.
you're
Thank
engaging
you.
with us. And the Good Radio Network says, this is our life too, our one life. Like we
Yeah,
deserve to live it for ourselves as well
for
as for
ourselves.
others.
Absolutely.
Yay!
Absolutely. And I think, from experience, when we come into ourselves, um, we do several things and it crosses
Yes.
several levels.
Hmm.
We are celebrated by the elders,
Hmm.
our peers pull up chairs, open doors,
Yes.
but I also focus on the ones coming behind us
Mm.
because we inspire. And I
Yes.
always say I aspire to inspire before I
Yes. I
expire,
remember seeing that on all over your aspire to inspire before I
before you
expire.
expire.
You have these little sayings, Nadine. They're
Yeah.
so inspirational.
Again, Clara, and it's funny. I have to just say this quickly. One of the first things I said to you when I first met you, there was something that really drew me to you, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And if I remember correctly, my youngest Bryce was with me at the event, and I thought she reminds me of my mum, of mummy, and you remind me of granny. So to me, that was the connection. And even my son on the way home said, I said, who does she? And we both looked at each other and he went, Grandma.
Mm,
So even he picked up on it. That
mm-hmm,
there is a quiet strength
mm,
and a welcoming
yeah.
that they both encompass, and I see that
Mm.
in you.
I'll take that. I'll take that because I know your grandma was an amazing woman. So I'll take that any day.
Yeah, you take
So
that.
so so let's talk about your superpower, right? I want us to talk about Alex says, I love when women give each other their flowers. Ah. Let's talk about your superpower, Nadine. Now, you've been described as someone who can really tune into other women, and
Mhm.
that is true. I can testify. You tune in, you know how to tune into their needs, their emotions, and their potential, right? So, talking about your signature superpower, what would you say is your gift in that space? What is it that you see, or what is it that you sense in women that they may not necessarily see in themselves?
First of all, I give them grace. I give them grace because, as I said before, everybody has a journey, everybody has a tale. We don't know their journeys.
Hmm.
So far be it from me to be projecting, oh, I think you should, or I give them grace.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I just kind of settle with just the energy
Mm,
and the spirit. And I always go in with an open mind to what can I learn from this woman?
yeah,
Because I believe if you're open to learning from somebody, you will see the best in them. You will see
that's
the good in
absolutely
them.
true.
And
That's
it's
so true.
simple. You just
Hmm.
reflect it back.
That again, there we go
Mm.
again, reflecting back,
Yeah,
based on how you project as well.
yeah.
So, talking about the power of amplification, Nadine, at G Woman Media, we are very super intentional about amplifying women's voices, especially women who are using their voices to create meaningful change, right? So now your work is deeply connected to helping women find and trust their voice anyway. So this is why I want to ask you, how powerful is it when a woman truly connects with her voice and begins to use it with confidence, with intention? How does that change, her life?
Yeah. She sees that she's enough.
And we all are.
She
We
sees
all
that
are.
she's
More
enough.
than enough.
Yeah.
Yes.
She recognizes she's enough. She
Yes.
recognizes that her voice carries weight
Mm-hmm.
because it's developed in experience, it holds value. We recognize our inability.
Mm-hmm.
We're not always going to get it right.
Yeah.
But in that, there is a lesson. As long as she doesn't
Mm.
allow herself, and it comes back to the agreement, to
Mm-hmm.
think, well, because you don't see my value, it
Mm.
doesn't mean I'm worth nothing.
Yeah. And on that note, I just want to ask you, Nadine, because it does feel like you've answered it already, but I still want to ask you just in one sentence, if you could. I mean, what would you say to that woman who knows that she has something to say, but yet she's still holding herself back? What would you say?
Everything you need is already within you. Everything
I
you
like
need
that.
is already in you. You just
Yes.
have to not be afraid to meet yourself
Yes.
where you're at. You put
Yes.
all the bad decisions, all the mistakes, all the things you've got. That's experience. And as humans, we all beat ourselves up from time to time. Oh, I made that mistake, and I can't remember who wrote the quote. Um, Anyone who tells you they've never regretted a decision in their life is a liar.
That's true.
We all regret the decisions. We all
Hmm.
wish we could
Hmm.
go back and do things differently.
Yeah,
Hindsight is
that's
better
true.
than
That's
foresight.
true.
But
And I
rather
always
than
believe
living
that.
in the
Hmm.
regret, is looking at the lesson. What's
Absolutely.
the lesson? What do I take away from here?
Absolutely.
And
Because
if I can
somehow the good, the bad, and the ugly all come
just bad and
together
the
to form
they
the
all come
tapestry of our lives, right?
together. Exactly. And if I can just add quickly, I remember when I worked um, in the NHS and I was leading a team of people, and I
Hmm.
always said to them, "Here's something I need you to do for me. When you come through those doors, irrespective of if you stay a month, 6 months, a year,
Hmm.
5 years, 10 years, always make sure you leave with something." Which is
Hmm.
why I've never been precious about people saying, "Oh, Nads, like, what does your job really entail? What do you do?" And I used to say to them, "Just book some time in my calendar, come and sit with me, and I will teach you what I do. If you're willing to learn and progress." Because for me, they're taking something away with them when they leave. Some people get very precious that, "Oh, I can't, I'm managing you, you can't know what I do."
Mm.
Why would you be
Mm.
threatened by that? The more you know what I do, the easier my job becomes.
That's true.
And you learn and you grow. And again, that's part of the passing
Yeah.
on the baton, sending the elevator back down, however you want to frame it. Never be threatened by somebody
Send that
running
elevator back down.
on you.
Always, ladies.
Keep it right down.
Always. Ooh, I'll quickly take this comment by Emma. She says, "This is so beautiful. Grace, learning from the women around you and reflecting your
Reflecting.
positivity back." And Riri says, we are all a work
Work
in
in progress.
progress.
We all are. We all are.
We all are. And so just give yourself grace, give others
Give
grace.
yourself
Just,
other grace.
and that is why I think that's one of the reasons why I think Michelle Obama's book Becoming
Becoming.
is so meaningful
We're
because
all
yeah,
becoming
you're all
something or
becoming,
someone else.
we're all
But it,
becoming.
it doesn't. It doesn't mean that we reject the past, the old person.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, that's a treasure chest that you draw from. Because you
Mm-hmm.
never know. My grandmother always used to say, "Never burn the bridges you cross," because you never know when you need to go back over them.
Ain't
And
that the
sometimes
truth?
it doesn't mean that it can be literal, but it
Mm-hmm.
can also be figuratively because you never know when you get to another opportunity in your life and you think, actually, I need to pull on that experience. How did I
Mm-hmm.
handle that? How did I deal with that? What did I do?
Mm.
Go
Do
back.
you know what? As we begin to bring things to a close now, I wish this conversation could go on for longer because I'm enjoying it and just the interaction and the comments from the ladies. But it feels like everything you've been saying since has been sort of like a message
Yeah.
to women, light bulbs and truth bombs and all of those
Nuggets, I
things.
like to call
But I
them.
still do, I still do want to ask you, Nadine, as we bring it to a close, what is your message to women? And specifically, right? If every woman watching today could walk away with just one truth anchored deep in her heart, what would you want her to remember about who she is?
It's a few little segments, but I'll try and put it in one sentence. Be
Yes,
present in every moment.
be present in
Remember,
every
it's about
moment.
collaboration and not competition. Be the
Mm,
rising tide that raises all ships and walk in your purpose authentically and unapologetically. Because in doing so, you activate a legacy that continues to rise in abundance. For when
mhm.
we rise, we choose the rooms we go into, or the rooms call us in.
God, I feel like you packed in so much in just that. Do you know what? I'm tempted to have you repeat it again. But Alex says, Nadine, you are such a blessing. This has been a love letter to all of us. Oh,
Yeah.
wow, Alex. I totally believe that. I totally believe that. And Frankie says, the Good Radio Network says, yes,
Yeah.
agreed, Alex. Oh, thank you for that love letter. I really
You're
do feel
welcome.
emotional right now.
So if
Truly,
anyone ever says to
you.
me, what does the essence of me mean? That's what it
Mhm.
means. That's
Mm.
it in a nutshell.
Nadine, I have to tell you, you were, the name that you go by, at the Queen Whisperer, how you whisper
Can I just say, sorry,
queenship up.
thank
Yeah,
you very
please
much for
do.
that name, Clara. Thank you
Mhm.
very much for that name. It was actually you who gave me that name.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. But I mean, Nadine, thank you, because this has been such a rich and meaningful conversation, and I do think that you really do embody that name, and I do think that I know that you take your role as the Queen Whisperer very seriously. Oftentimes, you would say, "All the women around me are like roses in my garden,
Um,
and it's my job to tend
just
to them."
tend to them and water them. Yeah.
And that's such a powerful way to live life and to just empower everyone around you and inspire them. Now, what I'm really taking away from this conversation is how all the different parts of your journey, Nadine, your care work, your experience, your creativity, your work with as a paralegal, how they've all come together to just shape who you are and shape how you show up for others. Because by this conversation alone, you've reminded us that understanding who we are is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It's the very foundation for everything else that we might do or be or achieve in life. So I want to thank you for the work that you do and for helping women see themselves more clearly and more confidently. That is super powerful work. And thank you for what you do.
Yeah. And thank you, Clara, and thank you, Alex and G Woman Media, for providing the platform for voices. Because,
Amazing.
we've
Amazing.
all got the voices. We can all be precious in our own, but unless we're sharing it, it's like having experience and you're not sharing it. What's the point?
Was the
There's
point? Who
no
lights a light
point.
and hides it under the bed, right? So, yeah,
I like
I
that one,
get it.
Alex.
So,
Who likes
thank
to
you,
write
G
and hide it
Woman.
under the bed?
Thank you, G Woman. I'll second that one. So, now I would like to say to everyone that's listening here now and who will listen on the replay, remember this: when a woman trusts herself, she transforms her life. But guess what? When she shares her voice, she transforms the world.
The world.
And this, as usual, has been the G Woman Media Voices of Influence. And this is where women's voices are not just heard, they're amplified, they're celebrated. And guess what? I am Clara Rufai, your host. And until next time, when I come your way again, I want you to own your voice and keep shining.